Hey
Hi,
Dion,
how are
nice to
you?
meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
Thank you for talking to me and congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's still sort of what's the word? Settling in. Still
Yeah,
thinking about it. Still part of the day. Even though I've finished the race and finished all the training, it's still like a momentous achievement, and still, I guess, digesting the whole time out there. It's just such a unreal place to run a race.
well, this is what I was just saying to Lucia, that most of my questions are not actually based around how and why.
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, sixth place is awesome. How is your recovery going, and what does your recovery look like after running in those temperatures?
So it's been 2 weeks since the race, and I just started running yesterday. Did 7 miles. I've taken it really easy. I don't really have any issues. I think just mentally, I'm a bit more tired than I would have thought mentally. Actually, physically, I'm not too bad. I had a few issues with some blisters, but other than that, everything else was good. But yeah, it's been good just to have a break from running, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I bet. um, what what was your strategy for the race, and did it pan out for you?
Actually, the strategy was to take it easy as much as possible, try and be continually on schedule with the schedule that we came up with, which was 30 hours. I wasn't really thinking about what anyone else was doing at the race. I was just focused on my own footsteps, one after the other for 135 miles. I stayed within just the team environment. I had the crew of 4 people there that were so important to everything that I was doing. And we just stuck to our guns. We didn't get involved with anything else that was going on around us, other runners coming and going, and the race battles that was happening ahead of us. It was really just thinking about how I was going to get to the finish line, making sure I got to the finish line, and making it as achievable as possible to hit that 30-hour time limit. So to get there and to get to the finish at 30 hours and 12 seconds,
Right
I
on the
was.
money.
Say that again.
Right on the money.
Exactly, yeah. So, we couldn't have done any better. I guess we were 12 seconds off the schedule. But it was important for me just to run my own race, just to be out there and to enjoy every moment of it as much as possible, be in the moment, but not get too caught up with what everyone else was doing. I was coming back from injury. I actually had to train pretty hard to get fit for the race in the first place, so I didn't know how the race was going to go. I certainly wasn't going to put any pressure on me as to try and get a result, which I think helped me in the end be strong towards the end of the race.
Oh wow, that's amazing. um, I mean, I from what I understand is it's to get such a high placing, when you've not done it before. It seems that so many runners return again and again, and that sort of experience helps them through. You didn't really have that for this particular race, but obviously you've got a lot of experience with some pretty hardcore races. Do you think they helped you, even if weren't quite the same?
Yeah, I mean, Badwater is a phenomenally different race in so many aspects. 135 miles through the heat of Death Valley. It's on a road. There's 15,000 feet of climbing. But your crew and your pacers, the team of 4 people that are around you, they're stopping every 2 miles to give you water, give you food, nutrition, look after you. Because the environment, the conditions are so tough, you put so much emphasis on that crew being right for you and right for the moment and being there. And it's like a race like no other. You don't have to really rely on your crew at ever and any of the other races I've run all around the world. So that
Mm.
was something to get used to. They're all rookies at the race too. I was a race rookie. We thought we knew everything that we could do to go into the race and prepare and planning and
Yeah.
do well at
How
the
do you
race.
prepare? How do you prepare not only yourself but your crew for that?
Well, my crew chief, Lucia, actually spent a lot of time speaking with other people that had run the race 3, 4, 5 times, compiling all the different notes from some of the midfield runners to some of the people that had competed and ended up on the podium. So we had a good balance of everything that we thought, okay, if this happens and the race is really bad for us, things go wrong, well, we know how the mid pack and the back of the pack have done it. If things go well, we know how the front of the pack have done it as well. So a lot of time and effort and energy and commitment in trying to find all of these answers out, and you still don't know it. We've learned so much. We would be quicker, but I'm not going back.
No, no.
This was enough, yeah.
Well, I was looking at your splits. Obviously, they're amazing splits, you know, even for the last few sort of checkpoints up to the end. But I mean, that elevation profile, how steep is that hill? That very last one?
The last one is a bit of a killer.
Yeah.
I think I'd be guessing, I think it's 5,000 feet at the end. But it's 13 miles, I think, and it just seems to go on forever and ever and ever. And it's the last thing, of course, you want at the end of 135 miles is to be then climbing straight up.
Yeah.
There's lots of switchbacks on the road as well. So you think you're getting to the finish, and actually you're a long way from it. So
lots of false summits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. So, I mean, it really was. I was just saying to Lucia that I think it was the week before you started, they recorded the hottest ever temperature, not only there, but globally. I mean, how on earth can you prepare to run in such temperatures? And does anything you do actually help?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think running in Death Valley is like nothing else. We had a very severe headwind as well. So it was like running in an oven, but with someone with hair dryers in your face, and the wind and the sand that was coming through and just the heat that was coming into your body it's just non-stop. You can be sprayed down as you're running, and literally 30 seconds, a minute later, you're completely dry again. It's like there's no way you can really prepare for it. Some people train in saunas beforehand. I was lucky to be down in Las Vegas training in the heat there, where it was 45 degrees. But you get out there and it's 53, it's 55 degrees. You have the headwind, and it's fully exposed. There's not a tree in sight. So
it's unimaginable,
like
really.
Yeah.
It is. It's just really hard to picture.
The race just keeps punching you in the face from the moment you start till the moment you get to the finish line, and it's just about picking yourself up at every time, and then getting punched in the face again and having to get up again, and you're just doing it all over again for 135 miles. It's phenomenally difficult physically, but it's a mental toughness that's really required to get to the finish line.
Do you think? I mean. Obviously, the biggest question I have in my head is why, but is the attraction actually perhaps more sort of battling those environmental challenges? Whereas, I mean, we know from your past that actually 135 miles is almost is well within your physical limits. So, I mean, is that part of the attraction? Is battling the heat and the wind?
Yeah, I mean, Badwater is known as the world's toughest foot race for a reason. That's like a big, I guess, tick in the box for me to want to go and push myself to the limits, both physically and mentally. As you mentioned, it's not the longest race I've ever run. I've run 240 miles non-stop in Moab Desert in Utah. There's different things about all of these races, and I guess it doesn't matter what distance race you're running. They're all difficult, and whether it's the world's toughest race and whether it's the most difficult race, every single race I do, if you're pushing your limits, you're always testing yourself, and you walk away from each race just thankful that you got to the finish line and grateful to achieve it. So for me, it was a great goal to go out there and to run this race. I'd really wanted to do it for many years. I'd actually been rejected by the race back in 2017 in my application. Even though I'd done a lot of races, I wasn't sort of at the level that they wanted me to be. So it's taken me a while to get there and to get past there and to come back. And things worked out really well for me to run the race this year. And I had a great crew. I ran well. And in hindsight, being rejected was really a good call, and I came back to do it better than I probably would have done in the first place.
Yes, I saw that their entry sort of standards are quite stringent, aren't they? It's they really vet you first to I guess, do they want, because they've actually got quite a high finishing rate, haven't they?
And it's sort of double-edged sword, if you like. They really want you to be capable of running the race. They want you to be safe out there. It is a tough environment. It's extremely hot, but they also want you to get to the finish line as well. So it does have a high finishing rate because the runners that are there are some of the best runners in the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's amazing. Going back a little bit to the beginning of your running career, you first started running by, I think, taking on a bet with a friend to do, was it a half marathon? How did you get from there to running the world's most extreme races in hostile environments that you do now? And are you still friends with that guy or girl?
Yeah, so I made a bet drunk one evening with a friend of mine to who could run the Wilmslow half marathon up in Manchester the quickest. And he'd already run the race previously the year before. He wanted to go run it, try and beat his time of, I think he did 1 hour 50. I'd never run before. I was overweight and I was heavy drinker, heavy smoker. I had to get ready for the race, which was in just under 4 months' time. Lost a load of weight, got fit, got to the race. I did a 1 hour 28. I beat my friend. I won the bet.
Wow.
And that was great because he had to take me out for dinner as well. And so we got to celebrate with the fact that I'd won the bet. I then actually bought Lucia a book for her birthday, and it was a book about the world's toughest endurance challenges. And after a few drinks, I said to Lucia, whatever page you open up to in the book, that's the event that we'll go and do. That was kind of the second part of the birthday present.
Wow.
She opened up to the Kalahari Extreme 250-kilometer stage race. One of the hottest locations also in the world, Kalahari Desert in South Africa, carrying all of your food and kit to survive the week. So it all started from there, really. If I hadn't have bought that book for Lucia, if she hadn't opened up on that page, we wouldn't be here today.
Interesting. I didn't realise. Okay, so you were already married then, and was Lucia a runner as well then? Or did you get her onto that path as well?
No, Lucia had been running for a couple of years before I'd actually started, and she'd run the Amsterdam Marathon as a first race. We would actually go on after I'd completed the half marathon. We would run the Marathon de Medoc in France, which is the one around the vineyards, drinking your weight in wine and eating cheese and meats along the way.
Perfect.
And it was the longest 26 miles of my life towards the end because it was a hot day in France. It was in the 30s. We'd been drinking all the way along through the 26 miles, eating too much food, and I had chafing everywhere. And I was dressed up like a pink pig, which was the theme for that year, to dress up like animals. So Lucia costumed me out as a pink pig. But afterwards, I just thought, I'm never running again. As I stood in the shower and I could feel the water on the chafing and I was dehydrated, and the race actually it sucked, you know. I wasn't ready to do 26.2 miles.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, then I bought the book for Lucia, and the story went from there, really. I got to Kalahari. I ended up finishing 6th in a pretty packed field of accomplished runners, professional runners as well. And
that's mind-boggling. So you went from a half marathon in Wilmslow to the Kalahari, and you came 6th. Yeah,
with the wine marathon in between. But yeah, that was my first ultra marathon.
So good Lord, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was.
How did you train? I mean, did you have a coach, or how?
Well, I don't even particularly like running. Even to this day, I don't enjoy running necessarily. One of the things that I've really been able to do with running is utilize a lot of that sort of negative mental energy, a lot of things that have maybe happened to me in the past in my childhood. I had a very difficult, depressive, abusive upbringing. So I found running is a really good tool for me to be able to burn through some of these thoughts and previous actions and things where my life had taken me, and really sort of use it as a bit of a cleansing tool in a way. So I hate the fact of pounding the pavements or running in horrible weather and all of these conditions, but the flip side, mentally, it's been really good for me. And that's what's sort of kept me running for all of these years, to be honest. Using that fuel, though, has been good for me too, because it's made me really want to go out there to these races and prove people wrong and show people that I am worthy of something. And that's what really has been a lot of my running career, is using that negative stuff.
Yeah, you've turned it from a negative to a positive.
Most of my running now is on positive actions and positive fuel, and I don't think back to those thoughts anymore. But my early running career was definitely around the negatives in my life.
Well, silver linings. Well, that's fantastic. I think you were filmed during Badwater, weren't you? Is that? I think rather than just filming you, they also had to crew you at the same time. How did that work?
So. Yeah, Rob Steger is a filmmaker. He's filmed a bit of the journey throughout Badwater. Not only my journey, I think also the crew's journey as well, and some of the other runners there. Very difficult to do from a filmmaking point of view out there in those conditions. The heat and the cameras, I think things were shutting down. Being able to see what you're filming is really difficult as well, because the glare is like
okay,
nothing.
yeah.
And also Rob was pacing and crewing me as well.
So trying to spray you at the same time as film you.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see some of the footage and see what he's come up with. And I know he used a bit of a GoPro along the way as well. And it's going to be fun to see some of the looks and my, I guess, the state that I'm in along the way as well. Because you kind of, you finish the race, you forget about all the tough times. So it'll be
it'll be a great insight into I can imagine that. Is it just focusing on Badwater, or has he filmed you anywhere else? Just Badwater?
No, just the Badwater race. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
The great thing about the Badwater is the Death Valley. I think one of the things is previous films have really concentrated on just how difficult the race is from a road perspective, because the road goes straight for 135 miles basically. But around it, there's so much beauty. There's sand dunes, there's massive mountain ranges, the Sierra Mountains are all in the background, and that's where you're climbing up towards the end. It's a really, really stunning, beautiful area. It's more than just a dry, barren desert and straight road, which I hope Rob's captured, because it would be beautiful to show that to people.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, we'll look forward to seeing that for sure.
Yeah, it'd be fun, yeah.
At what point in your running career did you decide to leave your corporate career, and was Finding Gobi, both the experience and the book, part of that, or had you already sort of left that corporate side behind you?
Well, Finding Gobi was like changed not only my life, of course, Gobi's life forever as well. And that moment when she started to run with me through the 155-mile 6-stage race across the desert in China, little did I know like where life would take both of us from then onwards. Having a book that's now in 21 languages, having a film in production with Sony Films, a big Hollywood film. I'd never ever have dreamt that as a young boy, being on the streets as a 13-year-old with nothing and nobody. It's pretty sort of surreal where life can take you, and it's been an incredible journey. And I'm very fortunate that this has taken me into a direction to be able to run a little bit more and to spend as much time with Gobi as possible as well, which is really important to me.
Yes, no, that's amazing. Well, I mean, the film sounds really exciting, actually. It'll be a real tearjerker, I'm sure. Do you know how far along the line they are with it?
Well, as with everything with COVID, it's a little bit delayed because of that. We've actually also moved to movie studios. We have a great team around us, though. We have an Irish director called Terry George, who has directed awesome movies like Hotel Rwanda, In the Name of the Father. His specialty is bringing real-life stories to the cinema. We have a great production team around us as well, so we're hopeful things will get filming at some point, but it takes so much time. There's so much things around just making this movie happen. We all just have to stay patient with it, which is really hard, because I can't wait to see
Yeah,
good
I
on
bet. I
them.
bet. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, what is next for you in today's ultra running boom? There's so many races coming out, but there's still got to be there's still the multi-day extreme hostile environment races. There can't be that many out there. What is next for Dion Leonard?
That's a great question. You're right. There's so many races out there. There's so many things that you can be involved with, or FKTs. I know a lot of people are doing that, especially through COVID times. The window of racing for me is probably narrowing, and I've always liked competing rather than necessarily completing. So I still want to be able to run relatively close to the front of the field, give it my best, if you like.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
I'm going to be running a race in Texas in October, which is a multi-stage race called the Trans-Pecos Ultra, Big Bend National Park, and it's going to be 155 miles over the whole week. Sorry, 165 miles, 6-stage, 7-day race over the week, carrying all of your food and kit to survive the week. Okay. Never been running in Texas before, so that's going to be fun, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's hot down there as well, isn't it?
It can be really cold though as well. That's the funny thing about Texas. It can be baking hot and then it can be freezing cold. So I know in their required kit that they've got like specific warm weather gear and a warm sleeping bags required. So I won't be skimping on anything. Having stayed down there previously, I know it can be pretty cold.
And will you be crewing on for Lucia with her triple challenge?
Yeah, so before the race in Texas, I'll be crewing Lucia at the Triple Crown.
Yeah, well, that's
epic adventure and challenge. 3 200-mile races in a matter of 9 weeks, which is phenomenally difficult to do. I've done it.
Which you've done.
In 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been able to help Lucia pre-planning, preparing, training for the race, and I can be there for her to get her through to the finish line, which would be epic to see, because there's been a lot of effort put into her getting there.
Oh, well, thank you very much for talking to me, and yeah, all the best for Texas and for crewing Lucia and for the movie, for both movies. I'm really looking forward to seeing them all coming out. Thank you very much, Dion.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
No, it's been yeah, fascinating, as I say.